Okay, this has got to go down in history as one of the most impromptu sewing videos ever, but I'm back, baby! So this is in no way planned or thought through, but I feel like doing some sewing. I thought this would make such a good sewing vlog. So here we are. I guess this is my comeback to YouTube. If you are new here, hi, I'm Brogan. You might recognise me from Series 8 of the Sewing Bee, but now I am a full-time social media content creator and I make videos about sewing, upcycling, just anything DIY. I know it's been a while. If you don't follow me over on my Instagram, it's at the Crafty Pie. I am now in my new sewing room. I have a new baby. Well, he's not that new anymore, but a lot has happened in the months that I have been away from YouTube. This sewing video came about because I've just received this stunning fabric as a surprise gift in the post from the Fabric Boutique. I love their shop and they sent me this gorgeous yellow Broderie Anglaise, and as soon as I saw it, I just had the perfect pattern in mind. I have already previously made this simplicity pattern. It is the S9597. I do have a picture over on my Instagram, but I kind of want to make another version, but a mini dress. For my last version, I also hacked the back of it to like tie in a bow rather than doing the buttons that's shown on the picture. So I thought, why not make this dress with you and take you along with me? You can see my process and it'll let you know how to do the hack as well. Okay, so first step is to get everything cut out. I have all my pattern pieces out. Annoyingly, I've lost the pattern piece for the straps. I don't know where that's gone, but luckily that is really simple. It's just a long rectangle. So we will make do with that, but I will show you the fabric up close. This is the fabric. I feel like it's not even being done justice in this light, but I absolutely love it. And I probably wouldn't have chosen white lining. I probably would have gone with yellow. But this was what they sent over to me with the dress. And I actually think it's going to look really cute. I think it's going to make the yellow pop a bit more. So I'm going to line the front bodice and the skirt. And then the back bodice, I'm just going to use the broderie because it doesn't really matter if that's got holes in it. I don't mind showing my back. So that's the plan. So let's get cutting. So I've just cut out my bodice back pieces, and this is how you do the tie back hack. It is really simple, so you could do a whole new pattern piece if you wanted to, but I've already done it before, so I just did this freehand. This is the original back bodice piece, and this is the edge. You can see that there would be buttons here. So all I've done is, as I've cut it out, I've been using my rotary cutter. I've just extended the pattern piece into a tie, and I've tapered it in so it gets shorter and shorter along the way. You just need to remember that you will have a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance either side, so you don't want this end bit to be too skinny, otherwise it will literally be like a tiny little point. For my other dress, I did a really long tie. This one's fairly short. It's probably maybe like 45 centimetres because I didn't want it to be too dangly. But really, you just need to think about how much length you want at the back, and that will determine how long you do this bit here. So I've cut out 4 pieces of these. 2 will be the like normal back bodice, and then 2 of them are the lining. And that's it. It literally is as simple as that. Now I'm cutting out these skirt pieces. All of these hacks that I'm doing, they're absolutely not essential. You could just cut it out exactly how it is, but I've already made this pattern before, so I know that there's a couple of things that I would prefer. So I mentioned that I'm going to be doing a shorter version of the dress, so I'm only using the yoke back pieces. These are the top part of the skirt. What I've done is I've extended the length of this yoke back piece. I'm not quite sure on how short I'm going to want it to be, so I've given myself a decent amount of length. I've also reduced the curve here slightly because I want this to be more daytime appropriate. The back does dip quite low on my other dress, so I've just reduce that slightly so it's not as dramatic. It more goes straight across the back of my waist. And also because this is just a one-tier skirt, I have widened it slightly just to give me more room to gather. And rather than cutting this on a straight line, I've kind of just like done a slight angle as I go to the bottom. And lastly, because this Broderie Anglaise is so gorgeous, it's got a really nice pattern to it. The original dress has a seam down the front of the back skirt and the front skirt, but I've actually chosen to cut this on the fold instead because I just don't want to disrupt the pattern. So again, those are all completely personal choice, and you could just cut this out exactly how it says. So that is it all cut out now. Just to bear in mind, I have cut out a lining for the front and back skirts. If like me, you're using Broderie Anglaise or something that's like slightly see-through, you just need to make sure that you cut out like a main fabric and a lining fabric for the front skirt, the back skirt, and also the front bodice. And I think that's it. So I'm going to get my machines threaded up now. Also, I have new machines since the last time, so I'll definitely need to show you. So I'm just threading up my machine now. I've got a new Husqvarna. I used to have a Pfaff, but I'm absolutely loving this machine. And one of my favourites, where are my snips? There they are. One of my favourite things about this machine is that you can thread up the machine, thread the needle, and then wind the bobbin without having to unthread it all. It just makes it so much quicker. And time is of the essence these days. Also, you're just going to have to get used to the fact that in the background of my videos, I will just casually have like a pram, a little seat, everything just gets shoved in the sewing room. So this is it threading up. It's still through the needle and then it just goes all the way up there. It's so cool. That's the machines all set up and ready to go. I only have the time it takes my husband to go around the supermarket with baby boy to sew. So we'll see how far we get. This will probably be split over a few days, but let's do this. First step is to sew the darts. I do have a really detailed Instagram reel on how I like to sew them, but I basically marked the point of my dart with my Pilot friction pen because it removes with heat. And then I have also done little notches at each edge, so you can line those up when you fold them over and find the dots. So let's pin this now. So for my darts, I just start at the edge where the notches are and then pull my fabric taut. I didn't draw a line, but I just aim to sew a parallel line to this point here. And then you don't want to finish that seam at the end because we're going to pull it out and leave a tail because we want to be able to tie a double knot in the bottom. I get a lot of questions asking why you do that. I know not everyone does it, but it was just the way that I learned, and it's to stop it being bulky at the end here. If you double back, it can cause like a bit of a ripple in your darts. So there we are. I'm going to do the other one on this fabric and my lining. Darts are done. I've just given them a good press. I could do with pressing that one a bit more actually, but I've done that for the lining and the outer fabric. Now it says we are moving on to the straps. So it's just a simple case of folding them in half, right sides together, and sewing 0.6 from the raw edge. Straps are sewn. I did the additional step of just sewing an extra little seam there so that I can use my favourite tool ever. It saves me time. It is my Prim loop turning set. So it is as simple as, because turning out straps can take so long, you insert the tube all the way through the middle. You get 3 different sizes, so you just choose the size that is closest to the size of your strap. And then you get the matching stick and you'll see that as you push the stick through, your strap starts to come out the other end, and that's it. It's so easy. I have pressed the straps and we just need to set those to the side for a minute. And then the next step is to attach the back bodice to the front. This is when it starts to look slightly different to the diagram, because obviously we have the long tie straps. So we are still attaching right sides together, the lining back to the lining front, and then also the front piece to the back piece. And we're just going to sew those edges. So you can see now that the main bodice and the back bodice are attached. I went ahead and overlocked my seams and gave them a good press. Now we are just going to deviate from the instructions slightly. I'm just going to quickly baste my straps onto the front of the bodice, because I like to just get that step over and done with before we do the skirt. Now I am only basting the straps to the very front part of the bodice and not the back, purely because I like to be able to try the full dress on and then adjust the straps afterwards. So it's not quite as neat because the back strap edge isn't fully enclosed, but I just prefer it that way. I hate the guesswork of if the pattern piece is going to be, you know, the right size for your straps, because the chances are it's not. So I'll do that and show you what it looks like. Straps are basted on just within the seam allowance. All you need to do is just make sure that they are in the same place as these dots on the pattern. I'm doing a size 8, so I just made sure that they were in the same place there. And next we're going to whiz up the skirt. So if you're doing the center, front and back seam, you'll have a couple of extra seams to sew. Also, if you're doing pockets, you need to remember to do those. But I'm literally just doing front skirt, back skirt, because it's nice and simple. And I'm just going to whiz those up on my overlocker straight away, because they're just, you know, straight seams, easy peasy. You might prefer to do it on your sewing machine first. If you don't have an overlocker, you can use a zigzag stitch. The options are endless, so let's go ahead and do that. So I've sewn up both skirt pieces, and I've just pinned my lining and my main skirt together along the front. Now the back of the skirt, we need to do a channel. So obviously we've got this 1.5 centimeters that we haven't sewn, and that allows us to press under to the wrong side a 1.5 centimeter channel. I chose to just finish these edges with my overlocker so that I don't have a raw edge there when I'm pressing it down. So I'll do all of that and then show you what it looks like. So the channel should be looking a little something like this. If you're working with a lining as well, you just want to make sure that both are really nice and flat and lying together. Now we're going to sew at 1.5 centimeters or just under all the way along, just to create this channel. Channel is sewn. I've cut the elastic to the length that I need. I always say be a bit wary of the length of elastic that a pattern tells you, because a lot of the time I find that it's just not really right for me. I actually based this off the other dress that I made, but you can do a really rough measurement of, you know, holding the elastic to your back. I want the dress to sit flat against my back. I don't want any gaping, so I've done it a bit smaller. Grabbing my safety pin, I'm just gonna pop this through the end. You've seen me do this lots of times before. And then we're gonna grab our channel and start feeding it through. Once you get to the point where your elastic is almost at the end, you want to put a pin in it so that you're not going to lose it inside the dress, and then you can carry on feeding it all through. Found my elastic on the other side, so I can take out my safety pin, and then we're going to run some stitches right down either side to secure it in place. all sewn in. This is what the back is looking like. A tip to get the gathers looking really even is just to stretch the elastic out as wide as it will go and then let it ping in, and it kind of just sorts itself out. So really pleased with that. Then the next step is to focus on the front part of the skirt, and we're going to run 2 rows of gathering stitches all the way along the front. So for gathering, we want a really long stitch. Usually on my machine I have it on seam, but I can just click here to change it to baste. If you don't have that function on your machine, you just want to choose the longest stitch setting you have. So like a 4 or 4.5 is generally what you want to go for. So the first line of gathering stitches I'm going to do super close to the edge, and then the second I'll do about 1 centimetre in, so both of them fall within the seam allowance. Gathering stitches are sewn all the way along. I've roughly marked the centre point of the front skirt and the bodice, because we now need to gather this front in to match the same size as the bodice. We are ignoring the side ties for now. I know it seems confusing, but it actually all comes together at the end. I remember thinking this the last time I sewed this dress. So we're only going to be stitching from here to here, the same on the skirt. The skirt makes more sense because we've actually got this overlap here. So I'm going to gather that in now. All the gathers are pinned in place, so I'm going to head to the machine and stitch that down. Here we are. It's starting to look more like a dress. Now I did actually finish that edge on my overlocker. You don't need to because it's going to be hidden, but because my dress obviously is see-through, I didn't want any like fraying bits hanging through, so I finished that edge. Now all we need to do is attach the lining. So once you've pinned all the way along the top, you are carrying on pinning all the way down to the end of your tie and back around to this side seam. You want to be really, really accurate pinning this side seam, because this part of the lining we are leaving untouched. So you're going to want to start from here and so all the way around along the top, down the other end, all the way back to this point here. We're getting so close to the end, so we've sewn up that whole thing, and now it's like a little magic trick because we just need to turn it out. Oh, I forgot to mention, I did go ahead and overlock all my edges again, but you only need to do that if you're using Broderie fabric, because otherwise all those edges would be encased. I'm just thinking about if I'm like going to wash the dress a lot, which I will have to because I get like baby food and snot on me a lot. So I wanted to make sure that it would like stand up to being in the wash, but if it's hidden you wouldn't even see anything fraying. So you just want to turn out those edges. You might need to grab a little stick for the very end, so I'm going to do that. That's why that loop turning kit that I mentioned is so good, because then for things like this you have like handy little sticks. Ta-da! It's looking so cute. So now we need to give it all a really good press so it's looking nice. I've gone ahead and given everything a really good press. If you have a fabric that's not as stable, you might want to understitch or top stitch just to keep everything sitting in place if you're worried about the lining going to the front. And then I mentioned about pressing under, so you would have seen there was naturally a little bit of a flap here that was left on the bottom of the lining. I've pressed it under, pinned it to the back side, and now from the front I'm going to stitch in the ditch, and that should secure that all the way down. Some people prefer to hand stitch this part. For just ease and time restraints, I'm going to stitch in the ditch, but if you prefer to hand stitch, that's completely up to you. Guys, do you ever just start sewing and get so carried away that before you know it, you have a dress? Because same. But we've almost finished. So I hand stitched, I didn't hand stitch, what am I on about? I machine stitched the lining down, And basically the dress is finished apart from some fitting, so I'm gonna go and try my dress on. I suggest you do the same. Here I am looking crazy, so I've just put the dress on with like my normal bra underneath, and I can see where that strap would normally lie, so that is where you would want to pin it to. You might need to enlist some help because obviously this is very difficult. I tend to somehow be able to contort myself and do it, but it would be a lot easier if I just asked my husband. So yeah, pin the straps where you want them, look at the length. I've moved you so you can see the length. It's so cute long. I knew I was going to want to keep it long, and I'm like, do I go long or short? I'm going to have to ask my husband and my baby boy, because I'm sure he will have some strong opinions. I've just hemmed it. If you've got a lining, you'll need to hem both the main skirt and the lining skirt. So I went ahead and did that. And now I'm just giving everything a really nice press to finish off. Trim any like loose threads that I've got, and it's done. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this little like sew along. It feels so good to get back to making videos, and definitely stay tuned for the big reveal, which is gonna come now.